Yeah, I don't care. How do you feel about it? Well,
Doesn't matter to me.
Me either. I guess I could start. I don't know.
Okay. Welcome to Stargatesing, a Stargate gazing podcast. I'm your host, Mary.
And I'm your other host, Kathy.
And each week we review an episode of Stargate alternating between SG1 and Atlantis.
Hello.
Hello.
How are we doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing okay, yeah. Yeah.
Excellent.
How was your little time away?
It was nice. I wish it was a little bit longer. I had tried to get a third night. We went camping. I had tried to get us 3 nights instead of just 2, but the campsite that I wanted, the particular one that I knew was nice and not like on top of the neighboring site, was only available for 2. But then as I was leaving, I saw that there was a biker gang checking in. So I was like, well, maybe it's for the best that my mom and I are not going to be here tonight.
Probably.
My mom would have probably been insufferable if there was a biker gang there. I don't know that I would have cared. I mean, I guess it would have depended on how rowdy they were. But
yeah.
mom definitely would have been like, should we feel unsafe? Should I sleep in my car tonight? I don't know if I feel safe.
Oh.
My mom would have been very extra. So
yeah.
Probably for the best.
It all works out.
Indeed. But it was fun. It was a good time.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like camping. And I was sad that we didn't get to do more of it last summer because it was just so hot all summer that when it's 85 at night, that's no fun to be camping because you don't want a campfire when it's 95 during the day or hotter and 85 all night. And then the summer before that was the one where it rained every time we tried to go.
I remember that.
Yeah, that sucked. We tried like 3 times and I made reservations and spent money on the reservations and every single time it rained.
Boo.
Yeah, that was dumb. But this time the weather was good and we had fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was nice.
Good.
Yeah, and my summer session is done, although they still haven't opened final grades, so I'm not like officially done, which is annoying, but
well, yay. Now you get a little break.
Indeed, I do, and I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's things with you?
It's going okay. I have been able to sleep and eat since I brought the dog back, so I'm feeling
both good things.
A lot better than I had been.
Excellent. I'm glad. Dogs are supposed to be stress reducing, not stress increasing generally. Yeah.
I did go, I know I probably shouldn't because it's just messing with my head, but I did go look at her adoption page. They're using the same text they were using before, including that she's 30 pounds full grown when they know she's 45.
That's obnoxious and frustrating.
Yeah. And I'm like, please don't set this dog up for failure, please.
Right. Yeah.
Poor baby.
I hope they'll make a more concerted effort to put her in a home with other dogs this time around.
I hope so.
Because that's definitely, to me, it sounds like that's what that dog needs to get over her trust issues with humans and her fear issues and stuff.
Yeah. Which they also don't really delve into, and it's a pretty generic description, which, to be fair, that dog has been in this state for like a month or 2. And it's not a ton of time to get to know an animal.
Right.
Especially when you're kind of a high-volume rescue.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
well, here's hoping, though, that the foster people that she's staying with, now that they know that this didn't work out, will know what to look for next with her next family.
I hope so. I want her to have a very happy life on a big, giant farm filled with dogs. Yeah, I know that's probably not going to happen, but you know.
It could here in Connecticut. There's plenty of farms.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. When I lived in New Hartford, where we used to live for a while, there was a farm up the road from us that had like 5 dogs running around all the time. And they would bark at me when I ran past. And it was hilarious because there was one dog there that had this weird bark that sounded like, whoof, whoof. And it wasn't a very big dog either. It was like, I don't know, maybe 40 pounds. And it was just like this weird whoof. It sounded like it was a dog that was losing its voice, and it was hilarious, and I loved that dog so much.
Yeah, so.
Yep, it was great. So, the dog could end up on a farm with lots of other dogs.
That would be amazing.
Is the point of my story.
Yeah. So, I definitely am confirmed right choice, I think, in all of this. So, yeah.
Yeah, sounds like it to me.
Including that opening and closing the door so much has let in a bunch of gnats into my house, which are finally starting to
Gross.
Go away. Which is good.
I hate them.
Me too. I'm like, why are you hanging out in my like little mudroom area? Go somewhere else.
Yeah, they're gross and disgusting, and I hate them.
Yeah. So that's all that's going on with me.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad things are settling back down a bit for you.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Has work settled down at all?
It's quieter because we're
That's
getting
good.
we're getting used to the quirks of the new system, and
Yeah.
we still have about 2 weeks before the fall rush. So but it'll be chaotic again soon.
Indeed.
But like normal chaotic, not we've made a once in a generation upgrade to our systems type of chaos.
Fair.
Yeah.
That's the you know what to expect kind of chaos.
Yes. So, yeah. Know who made a massive upgrade to an Atlantis system without anyone else knowing?
Who's that?
Morgan Le Fay?
Yes, that works. I like it.
Thanks. If only they could use that without power all the time.
Right. Yeah. Indeed. What is this episode that we're talking about where Morgan Le Fay finally makes an appearance?
This is, contrary to my just saying Atlantis, is Stargate SG1.
Yes.
Season 10, Episode 3, The Pegasus Project.
Yes, a crossover episode.
Yeah. Was there no, there wasn't.
There was no recap on this one.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah, for the first time in a while, I feel like there's no recap.
We get an exterior shot of a ship, which turns out to be the Odyssey back in service after its whooping by the Ori. And SG1 is aboard. The Odyssey is going to Atlantis. Mitchell and Vala and Daniel are in the mess hall of the Odyssey. Daniel is on the table asleep. Not fully. He's just laying his head on the table. It would be weird if he got up and laid on the whole table. Vala and Mitchell are messing with him. Mitchell's got like a piece of napkin. He's all twirled up and starts poking him in the ear and stuff. And he and Vala are talking about Daniel and how excited he must be about coming to Atlantis finally. Mitchell makes a reference to Christmas Eve, and Vala's sad because she thought cultural references she doesn't understand were now off limits. Don't you think she might have some cultural references that they don't understand? And how would she...
You'd think.
No, I don't know. How can you not have any cultural references?
Also, you'd think she would need to pick up on the cultural references.
A little
because
bit.
If she's trying to blend in with this culture, she's going to need to learn some of them.
By metaphor.
Yeah. Teal'c rolled with it.
Yeah.
He watches Star Wars all the time.
He didn't complain.
Yeah. He wears cowboy hats.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. Come on, Vala.
Yeah, he
Maybe
even knows about the Tooth Fairy.
Yeah. Maybe, Vala, you should wear some hats and think about learning more about Earth. Mitchell wakes Daniel up with his little... The way it looked like a wrapper for a straw, but I looked at that table and there was nothing to put a straw in, so I don't think it was a straw wrapper. I think it was a piece of napkin, personally, but...
I think so.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
If we're interested in their food choices, Mitchell's tray is pretty empty, but maybe looked like a remnants of bacon and eggs. Vala had a muffin. She's eating an orange. Daniel's plate is completely full, and he looks like he's got a bunch of Eggos and fruit and hash browns that went uneaten because he just fell asleep at the table.
I could go for a muffin.
It would be good. I had some pancakes for breakfast.
Nice.
Yeah.
I only had a protein bar. Kind of hungry.
I hope you're going to have more after this.
I will. I thought about having more before this, but I need to go grocery shopping. I don't really have anything else that appeals.
That's fair. I have some just add water pancake mix always on hand, just
Nice.
just so I have something to make sometimes.
Fair. I could have had cereal. I'm like, I don't want cereal.
Yeah, if you don't want it, then you got to get something you want.
I could have had a sandwich, a peanut butter sandwich. And that was pretty much it for my options. Peanut butter sandwich or cereal or a second protein bar. And I didn't want any of those things.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Fair. Mitchell wakes up Daniel to let him know they're out of hyperspace. And Daniel's a little groggy and is like, what's going on? What time is it? They hear Emerson over the intercom, letting him know they're ready to enter the atmosphere. And Daniel's like, why didn't you tell me? And I'm like, what was Mitchell just doing? Maybe Mitchell was letting you sleep, Daniel, because you looked fucking tired and you had the time. And he woke you up just in time. So, what the hell, Daniel? Anyway, they head off to the bridge of the Odyssey, where Sam is already there. Daniel is quite excited. we hear Weir over the radio, welcoming them to Atlantis. She says take a moment to enjoy this, but you need to get working right away because the important things are happening. SG1 is chatting at the viewing window. Daniel wishes that he could visit Atlantis not under these dire circumstances. Mitchell's like, it's just another mission. And Vala's like, yeah, one involving the fate of the entire galaxy. And Mitchell's like, yeah, like every week. But Sam's like, no, we do have a lot on the line this time. Mitchell says, okay, cool. Well, we've had our moment. Let's get to it. And then we're at credits. Credits! Oh, did you notice Marks wasn't on that bridge? Where'd he go?
Notice. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't notice that.
Maybe he's had too much excitement and is on a leave or something.
Yeah. It did look to me like, what's-her-face, the annoying hiccups lady, was there in the background, but she didn't have any roles, and also we couldn't tell if she had hiccups. I wasn't sure it was her because she was in the background and it wasn't focused on her.
Okay, that I did not notice.
The camera wasn't focused, but it did look like her to me. From the very brief camera shot that it got of someone behind them on the bridge.
Interesting.
Yeah. Next, we are in the Atlantis briefing room after the credits, and everybody is there. Everybody from SG1 and Atlantis, pretty much.
Except for...
I don't think Taylor was there.
No Taylor, no Ronan.
Yeah. So I guess not quite everybody, but Rodney was there and Sheppard was there, so... And
Team
Weir, of course.
Sir?
Yeah. What's that?
I see Sir. I'm just trying to think of the two letters of their names and pull it out of chart.
Yes. They're talking about Ori's supergates, the one that is in this galaxy has been inactive since that first wave came through, but they're pretty sure that reinforcements are going to come through at any point, so they need to try to figure out how to disable this in some way. They've, of course, talked about trying to dial out, but they don't have enough power to do that. Of course, that's something that, as Sheppard points out, that's something that they've already thought of, so they wouldn't have come all the way here to Atlantis to talk to them about this if they hadn't already thought about that. And Sam agrees, yes, we've thought about that. That was the first thing we thought about. And the Asgard have actually tried it, but they have not been able to dial out. So either it's a power thing or something, whatever it is, they can't dial out. Weir asks if it's possible to maybe dial in and block them that way, but doesn't seem like it works that way either because you'd have to dial in from another galaxy. And so maybe they can dial in from here?
Maybe.
But nope, that doesn't seem to work either. McKay says that it's a matter of diameters of gates and blah, blah, blah. Sam already knows that, of course.
You know, you blow up one sun and suddenly everyone expects you to walk on water.
Rodney does make an allusion to mixing a St. Bernard with a Chihuahua, and Vala gets upset again because she's like, what's the problem with that? Rodney thinks that she's mocking him. Vala starts trying to explain, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm not from Earth. And then Rodney's like, oh, and he tries to delightedly explain the difference. And obviously everybody cuts them off because it's not really relevant. But I thought it was an amusing exchange.
It is amusing.
When Weir cuts him off, Sheppard says that he will shoot Rodney if he talks again.
Did you see Sam silently say thank you to him?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that was good.
This scene continues for a while, and I don't know that the logic really makes a ton of sense, but they're going to try to connect the Pegasus galaxy to the Milky Way galaxy, Ori gates. Teal'c is on his way to the Milky Way galaxy gate with a small stargate, and somehow they're going to be harnessing black hole power to make enough power for this dial out to work. Is my impression of how they're planning to do this because they don't have enough power on their own to make this connection.
Yes.
Admittedly, I found this difficult to understand, and I probably should have rewatched this scene like 3 times to be able to explain it better, but I did not. So here we are. Do you agree that that sounds like a fair assessment?
Yes, I agree, because that is the only way they could dial out of Pegasus is either with a ZPM or apparently a black hole.
Yeah. Yeah. So it didn't really make a ton of sense, but that's what they're going to go with. They're going to try to harness a black hole, but they also need to have Teal'c drop off a normal-sized gate. Where that one came from, who knows? I guess they just plucked it off of some random planet.
Yeah. I mean...
and had Teal'c bring it out there.
Why not?
To the Milky Way end. Yeah. And they're going to use a black hole to dial out to that one and hope that it will then jump to the big Ori gate to help power the connection or something along those lines. It's weird and convoluted, but that's what they're going to go with.
Yeah, they want it to jump to the Ori gate so that the Ori gate stays perpetually open.
Right, yes.
That. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I left out that part.
Yeah.
But yes, that is their plan. They're hoping it will stay perpetually open like that gate that stayed open a while back on that SG1 episode. I forget when that was, but a couple seasons back. Yeah. That's the key part of that. Not only is it going to help to power this, but it was going to help to keep it open. Yeah.
Yeah. Then the Ori can't send any more ships. Take that, Ori.
Yeah. It was not an ADHD-friendly scene.
No. It was a lot. And there was a lot
and I honestly was hoping that you were going to end up with being the one to explain it. And then I didn't realize until I was halfway into it, oh, right, this is the one that I was hoping Kathy would get. And here I am.
Yeah, because not only do they have these convoluted explanations, but they also have all these sort of side conversations.
Right, exactly.
Happening with Vala and Rodney. And
right. And that's part of why I had so much trouble following what their plan actually was. And I think that they probably did that on purpose because it's not like a real thing. It's mostly just like a whole big MacGuffin plan. So I think they're actually trying to distract people from what the real plan is.
That's
so
possible.
That it doesn't have to make sense.
I'm willing to take it because it was I like a crossover episode.
Same. I thought it was an amusing episode overall. Spoiler, because I like a crossover episode. Yeah. But here we are.
And I guess we should add that Weir lets Rodney go with them.
Yes. Yes, so she lends Rodney to them because he's going to have to help out with this. Oh, right. One key thing is that Vala said, didn't you say that we were going to need Rodney to help with the calculations? She asked Sam this, and Sam whispered to Vala, we weren't supposed to tell him that. Rodney looked delighted. So yes, Rodney's going to be going along with them.
Yeah. I don't know if it was because it's through SG1's eyes, but Rodney seemed much more of his earlier time insufferable self than he does on Atlantis on the regular.
He does a bit. And I'm wondering who wrote his part, because there are different writers for the two shows. I would imagine that, it's probably more that it's the SG1 writers writing for him. And so maybe David Hewlett had a little bit of say in his lines. Should be like, no, this is more what Atlantis Rodney would be like. So he might have tamed it down a little bit, but the SG1 writers did seem to make him a little bit more like the asshole-ish character we've seen in the past.
Also, Mitchell clearly finds him way more insufferable than even Sheppard ever did. So, but I thought that was interesting. And
it is interesting.
Then I was trying to decide who was more annoying in this episode, him or Vala, and it's a toss-up for me.
It is, yeah. I also thought it was interesting, too, that Sheppard and Rodney had a much more contentious relationship in this episode than they generally seem to have in Atlantis.
Yeah.
Because they've seemed to kind of built more of a mutual respect in regular Atlantis episodes because of all the times that Rodney has saved everybody.
Yeah.
By risking his own life on multiple occasions. And, of course, Sheppard's saved Rodney on multiple occasions, too. So while they do, kind of butt heads a bunch, they do have that mutual respect, which seemed to not really be there as much in this episode, I noticed.
Yeah, it was interesting.
It was weird.
And I know it's an SG1 episode, not an Atlantis episode, so that's not the focus, but yeah.
But I did notice there were some subtle differences in the characters and how they were portrayed.
Yeah. After the big meeting, Sheppard and Mitchell have a little colonel-to-colonel, heart-to-heart. Mitchell's like, nice place you got here. Sheppard's like, we just painted. Sheppard wishes them good luck. Then he tells Mitchell, if Rodney gives you a hard time, shoot him. And also, he's mortally allergic to citrus, and then pulls a lemon out of his jacket and is like, I'm always carrying a lemon around, just in case, so I feel better, so I can just murder Rodney at any moment.
Yeah, see, this is what I was talking about. When I was saying they definitely have much more of an adversarial relationship in this episode than we've seen in recent episodes of Atlantis.
And then he gives it to Mitchell, because and it's not like Mitchell has a friendly relationship with Rodney, but Mitchell doesn't seem murdery, so maybe it's fine.
It's a run by fruiting.
Anyway, yeah, so he passes along the special lemon torch to Mitchell to keep Rodney in line.
Yeah.
Rodney sees the end of this conversation. He tells Mitchell that this is really funny. Sheppard and I were really actually pretty close. Mitchell's like, did you pack your bags? And Rodney's like, okay, bye. Sam, Weir, and Daniel then approach Mitchell. So they've got a 2-prong mission that is happening in this crossover episode. They've got Stargate wormhole connection plan over here, and then we have this other plan where Daniel's still trying to find Merlin's weapon. So Daniel and Vala will be on a separate little mission in Atlantis while Mitchell and Sam get to do the crazy-ass Stargate plan. Mitchell then departs. Weir tells Daniel, let's go access the database. And Daniel's like, where's Vala? And she's just looking around. She's being Vala. She's being a little touristy. She's leaning over a railing. Vala is like, this place is incredible. And there's probably so many souvenirs we could steal. Daniel asks how much of the city they've been able to explore. And Weir says they've seen over half of it, but they do know where a lot of stuff is because they have schematics. But there's a lot of stuff we still don't understand. And Daniel says, yeah, you could probably spend a lifetime trying. And Weir's like, yep, that's my plan.
I've spent my entire life doing nothing but collecting comic books. Life well spent!
And then we are in the gate room with Weir and Daniel and Vala. She, meaning Weir, says that she has actually been doing some research around the city, various databases, the computer system, trying to figure out any possible pronunciation of Castiana and Sahal, the other 2 planets that supposedly Arthur and his people were going to search for that weapon on, and she couldn't come up with anything. She didn't really expect to find anything, and she asks Daniel, you didn't really expect to find anything in there either, did you? And he says, no, not really. Vala asks if she got the spelling right. And Weir says, well, the problem with ancient languages is that pronunciation can change, spelling can change. It's been thousands of years. We're talking dead languages here. So, no, it's not surprising that there's no match in the system for what this current culture calls these 2 places, because the original names were probably completely different. But Daniel still thinks there's got to be something within the Atlantis library that can give them some kind of clue, and he wants to have a look around there. But Vala wants to go see some sights first. But no, that's not what Daniel wants to do. So they're going to go and presumably go talk with the hologram lady next, but that's not what happens next, because we are with Sam and Rodney in a lab next. They are talking to Emerson, who's getting ready to take off. Sam asks Rodney to check his calculations, and he's like, yeah, I'm sure they're fine. I just wanted to thank you for getting me through a really tough time. You weren't really there, but I was alone in the dark, and it seemed like you were there. She asked if she had clothes on, and he's like, well, you just had some clothes on. She rolls her eyes and just says, please just go double check the calculations. He says, fine. He'll go check her calculations.
Yeah, that was weird.
It was. Yep.
Then we are back with Daniel, Vala, and Weir, who have entered the... do we call it the hologram room?
This calls it the Atlantis Library Holo Room, if we want to go by what the transcript says.
I'm going to call it the hologram room because it's shorter. Slightly.
Fair.
Only slightly, but... Holo room?
The holodeck.
We could call it the holodeck. Let's go with
Not
holodeck.
really a holodeck, because there's just one hologram in this room.
That's
but
true.
She's kind of standing up on a deck.
But it's also like this room we've seen before in other episodes. So I looked at this because I was wondering if the actor that they have playing the hologram was the same one in the first episode. It is not.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Huh.
I
Didn't
looked.
notice.
I checked the credits and then I went and watched that scene from the first episode.
Oh, I assumed it was. I didn't really remember.
Or second episode. Whatever is the pilot, beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was not the same actor, so...
Interesting.
So then is this that... Because Weir talks about the hologram and how, she was meant to be teaching children about Atlantis. Right. And I'm like, well, maybe there's more than one. I don't know. Or maybe they just changed actors. Whatever. Because probably they weren't thinking 3 seasons ago, oh, well, this character will be back.
She's going to be Morgan Le Fay eventually in a few years. Oops, spoiler.
Yeah. They haven't really used this room a lot, and it is because it is a huge power drain, as we saw in the beginning of the series. It seems like they sometimes use it now. Weir also says it's a power hog. And they can also access databases from other workstations, so that begs the question why they have to use this hologram.
Right.
Why has she brought Daniel here when he can just do queries like they've been doing?
Right.
But she says this is the best place for the first-time user. And then they step up to the pedestal that's in the room and... Pedestal.
Oh, yeah, no, the famous phrase to be put on a pedal stool.
And the hologram appears, which is also different than the first time that they arrived, and I'm wondering if that was just programmed, because the first time they were in when Beckett was standing on there, and again, I just watched this, I don't have this amazing recall about this, it was just playing the same like recorded message on a loop, so maybe they disabled that, and now they have this interactive hologram. Weir is about to explain how it works when she gets a call that she's needed in operations, so she heads out and tells them that the interface can walk you through how to even use the interface, I guess, since that's what she was about to show them.
Yes.
And then she warns that the hologram's patronizing because it was designed to teach children. So she leaves, and Vala starts to ask questions, and Daniel's like, you're asking questions the wrong way. But the hologram doesn't answer Vala's question anyway. She just says that you can enter your query verbally or enter it manually. Daniel says he's going to talk, which the hologram says is okay, but manual input is required for most system interaction, which is weird too, but whatever.
Yeah.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
And then they're going to go on. That wasn't that interesting in the end, because they haven't started doing anything yet. But we meet the hologram.
We do. And then we're in space on the Odyssey. And there's confirmation in, at least according to this transcript, that Womack is hanging out there in the background again, even though she doesn't have any speaking lines. Okay. Because there's a reference to Emerson saying something to Womack when they're talking about maintaining orbit at a minimum safe distance. So they have made it to where they need to go, near the black hole, specifically. So Rodney and Mitchell are there as well on the ship. They're looking out the window, and Mitchell says, is that thing cool or what? And Rodney goes on about how what you're looking at is called an accretion disk. You can't actually see a black hole. And Mitchell's like, yeah, that's cool. And then just walks away. I thought it was amusing.
Yeah.
Sam says that they're in optimal range for releasing the gate, so apparently they're also going to release a small gate on this side in addition to the small gate that Teal'c's going to be releasing on his end. I forgot about this one. So yeah, so small gates on both ends.
Yeah.
In addition to
big holes.
Big holes and big gates. Yeah. That's right. That's how they harness or at least trying to harness the power of the black hole to keep the gate open. I forgot about this part. That makes sense. No, it doesn't. Never mind. But that's what they're doing.
It makes, having a second gate there makes sense because they need a gate to make a connection. So yeah. In that sense, it makes sense.
Right. So we see the cargo bay of the Odyssey. And again, I was wondering where they got these gates from. And this one, they've attached little like stabilizer thruster things on it so that they're able to kind of steer it a little bit, which I don't know why, but I thought it was funny watching them try to.
It was fun.
Just steer its way towards the accretion disk without sending it directly into the black hole.
Yeah. They've done that before with the rockets on gates, right? Because I think they had to do it when Sam was blowing up the sun. I think that was one.
Yeah, I think that they did. Yeah. It still just amuses me, though.
Yeah.
Rodney says that it's going to be a few minutes before they get the gate into position and ready to dial out to the other gate that Teal'c is going to have. So maybe it's time for a sandwich. Does anyone want a sandwich? He's going to go make a sandwich. And then we're back with Daniel and Vala talking to the hologram. Daniel is looking at Earth. He's talking about Teanas. The hologram talks about Proclarouche Teanas, which was one of the earliest Lantean cities, and it was abandoned because inhabitants learned their sun was nearing the end of its life. Vala is being very impatient behind him, and she really just wants him to be more direct in his questioning. But Daniel, again, is basically arguing the same thing that Dr. Weir said, in that the hologram wouldn't know the names for these cities because they only know the current day names. They wouldn't know what the Atlanteans would have actually called them. So they have a little bit of a back and forth about what exactly they should be asking this hologram. Vala says it would take all of 11 seconds. So she keeps pestering him. He finally gives in, and the hologram shows him exactly where they are.
Yeah.
And Vala's basically like, see, told you so.
I was kind of on her side for this one because, as she said,
same.
it doesn't hurt to ask. Like, start with your
Right.
very random broad query and then go from there.
Right, exactly. Because even if the thing didn't necessarily recognize the names, it might have asked something like, did you mean this place? It might have recognized the sound, at least in some way,
Possibly.
as being something similar to what it knew.
Yeah.
But apparently, in this case, it said the exact same name and showed them in the exact locations of the two planets.
Yeah. So Daniel should be thanking Vala because otherwise he would never know that this is Morgan Le Fay.
Yep.
Spoiler.
Which we still don't know yet.
Yes. But still.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But that's that scene.
Yeah. Back on the Odyssey, the gate is in position. Rodney comes back from his sandwich. He's mad he couldn't finish it because he was trying to eat in the corridor, which is a no-no. And Mitchell's like, okay, cool. Well, we got stuff to do.
Why can't you eat in the corridor?
I don't know. Maybe they're not allowed to eat anywhere but their dining hall.
Maybe. I have students that try to eat in the lab, and I tell them, well, you have to go out in the hall / corridor. I'd rather have them eat there than in places where we're doing things like dissecting pig kidneys.
Maybe there's no one around to clean up Rodney's crumbs as he walks around eating a sandwich throughout a ship. And then
fair.
the ship fills with space mice. And what are you going to do then?
Space mice are the worst.
You can't get rid of them.
You can't.
They're so wily, too. It's hard to catch them. God.
They are. Yeah. They take full advantage of that reduced gravity.
Yeah.
Would there be reduced gravity on this ship? I bet that
know.
there is, at
Yeah.
least in some places, and those mice are going to take advantage. You know it.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And suddenly the whole ship is space mice and there's no room for the people.
Right. It's just like in that episode of Short Treks from Discovery when the whole ship is full of tribbles. And H. John Benjamin is just there pressed up against the glass.
I'm too lumpy for Star Trek.
Oh, tribbles. I love tribbles.
I love tribbles. I got to replace the battery on my tribble. It no longer makes tribble noises.
That's sad.
It is.
And if you take all the fur off underneath, it's all meat.
I like when somebody loses the puff on their winter cap and it lands on the
looks
ground,
like a
and I'm
tribble.
like, that's a tribble.
Yeah.
Sam says they've dialed and it's just going to take a moment due to time dilation, and then suddenly they have a wormhole established. They radio to Teal'c and ask if he'll accept the charges from the Pegasus Galaxy. There's a delay, but then we hear, I will indeed, Colonel Mitchell. And his voice is a little distorted, but we learn that is also because of the time dilation, black hole, dialing across a galaxy, whatever.
Why were the voices slowed down in both directions?
I don't know.
You would think that Teal'c's voice should have sounded a little bit higher pitched because the time dilation would have slowed down the time for the Odyssey, but not for Teal'c. So Teal'c should have sounded a little bit higher pitched because time would have been going by a little faster for him than on the Odyssey, right?
Sure?
Or like, so relatively speaking, Teal'c
yeah.
would have been sped up a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
So on Teal'c's ship, they should have sounded a little slower, but on their ship, Teal'c should have sounded a little faster.
But they didn't go with that.
They didn't. They
went
slowed
with-
down the sound on both sides.
Yes. Teal'c reports that the second gate near the super gate is in position and that there has been no aura activity, which was in the last several hours since he arrived. And I was wondering if he was annoyed. Like, why point out that he arrived several hours ago?
It seemed to me that he was very subtly trying to point out that he was annoyed,
Yeah.
as much as Teal'c ever does point out such things.
Yeah. Mitchell tells him they're about to get the party started, so hang loose. And Teal'c says he is hanging loosely, Colonel Mitchell. I just love Teal'c so much.
Me too.
So they talk about how the time dilation is affecting the communication. And Mitchell's like, okay, cool. We're ready to set off this firecracker. And Rodney, of course, again, well, actually is that. Sam wants him to also get on with that, but Rodney's like, I don't want everything to blow up, and also brings up Sam's recklessness again. That has been a thing with him since they met.
Yep. Not that he's never reckless.
I know. Like, what? Then we have a whole episode about him having to learn his lesson about being reckless because he blew up a solar system.
Yes, I was just about to mention that.
Although we did wonder if he learned anything from that lesson, really. But
true.
Or if he needed to. That was, yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to revisit that
because
too
he was
much.
being urged to do the things that he was doing, and then they chastised him after for doing the things he was being urged to do.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, this episode,
Yeah.
Sam tells Teal'c they're about to launch the warhead and asks if Teal'c is a safe distance from the gates, and he confirms he is. So they launch the weapon. They have to wait several moments to hear if anything happened, but Teal'c says there is no good news. The first attempt was unsuccessful. So they're going to have to try again, Sam says.
Then we are back with Vala and Daniel and the hologram. Vala just wants to get out of there because they got what they came for. She wants to go do more exploring around Atlantis and or go and look on those planets for the weapon or do literally anything that is not in this hologram room. But Daniel doesn't want to leave yet because he doesn't trust this. Again, he didn't think that the hologram should know the names of those planets exactly as they learned them to be with the same pronunciations and everything. So he doesn't trust this. He says it shouldn't have worked, and he didn't expect it to work when he asked Elizabeth to try, so he wasn't surprised when it didn't work when she was trying through the other computer systems. So why did it work here? He's still hung up on how could this database translate in real time a language spoken 8,000 years after the ancients abandoned Atlantis. It makes no sense. He asks the hologram if there's an archival visual record of the Lantean citizens who fled to Earth. And the hologram says that there is. He asks it to display them one at a time for him. Vala is not pleased that they're going to be hanging out here longer, apparently, because she's very bored.
It doesn't help that he didn't explain why he wants to see this.
No, it does not.
I just want to look at pictures. What's wrong with that?
Yeah. Next, we're back on the Odyssey somewhere in some hallway. Rodney, Sam, and Mitchell are out in the hall talking about a new set of calculations that apparently Sam has done. Rodney says they're not going to work unless her goal is to blow up the Stargate itself, which obviously it's not the goal, but she says that anything less isn't going to give them enough energy to make the matter stream jump to the Stargate. So they're just arguing about MacGuffin science things. Yeah. Mitchell says, you know, Sam, this is not the Rodney McKay I heard stories about. And Sam's like, yep, I know. Of course, Rodney is incensed by that. And he's like, what stories? What have you heard? And Mitchell says, well, I heard that Rodney doesn't know the meaning of the word impossible. So, of course, that prompts Rodney into action. So he's got to figure this out now because his ego is on the line. And he's like, did Sheppard tell you that? And Mitchell's like, yeah, of course he did. And Rodney says, well, I work best when I'm under impending threat of death, and that's not the case right now. So, of course, now is the time that Mitchell pulls out Chekhov's lemon that he's been carrying around. And Rodney gets a look of panic on his face. And so now, of course, Rodney's going to figure out some solution to this. Mitchell says, like my grandma used to say, if at first you don't succeed, he's got so many aphorisms from his grandma.
He really does. I was thinking that too today.
Yeah.
I was like, I wonder how many times grandma has spoken up already.
Right? Yeah.
Then we are in the hollow room where picture after picture of randos is being put up for Daniel and Vala to look at. Vala is very bored. Daniel says he's looking for a particular person. Vala says she doesn't know any 10,000-year-old ancients, but then suddenly there's a guy that they see and they're like, oh, wait, hold on, just kidding, that's Merlin, we know him.
He didn't look familiar to me. I know that the version of Merlin that we've seen has been older, but I'm like, how the hell did they recognize him?
Yeah, I don't know, because he also has like a, in
giant
the
beard?
images, the giant beard, and yeah, so
and this image did not have a giant beard?
Yeah. But apparently it is, and he was known as Moros and was the last High Counselor of Atlantis. Daniel, for some reason, decides to give her a lesson in languages changing over time,
Right.
which I don't think she
I was like, seriously?
needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See how Moros changed to Mirrodin? Things change over time.
Yeah, and then it was
like, yeah, whatever.
Merlin. Thanks, Daniel. You're almost as insufferable as Rodney.
Yeah.
Or more.
Yeah. Agreed. More. I would say more.
Vala thinks Daniel thinks that maybe Merlin came back to Atlantis and hid clues there, but Daniel says no. And then the hologram speaks up, unprompted, to be like, the first human to set foot within the city after it was abandoned was Dr. Elizabeth Weir. And that evidence of that is recorded. Vala's like, it's fine. We got what we came for. We have names of planets and gate addresses. It's awesome. Let's just go. And Daniel's like, no, I knew Merlin was in the archive. I'm looking for somebody else. But he doesn't say who. But he does ask the hologram, you chose your words carefully, and said, the first human. He asks, what about an ascended being? And then he says, you're not really a hologram, are you? When it doesn't answer immediately. And then the hologram turns and looks directly at him and tells him he has his answers and suggests you act on it. And then she disappears. So she is not a hologram. She is an ancient.
Yep.
Ah, curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
An ascended ancient. Surprise!
What?
I know.
Yeah. Then we're back on the bridge of the Odyssey, and of course now Rodney has a solution because he was threatened with a lemon, and also his ego was bruised. He's figured out something about energy output, fixed some calculations, and they need to use 2 bombs, basically.
Yay!
Yeah.
Double explosion.
Yay! The second one needs to detonate within a few seconds of the first one. More calculations. They've only got 4 devices left, so Rodney better be pretty sure about this one. And, of course, Rodney's sure about this one. Emerson does have some concerns, though, that it could overwhelm the stabilizer rockets on the gate itself, and that it would bring the gate closer to the horizon of the black hole, and then that would obviously limit how long they're going to be able to keep the gate open if it gets sucked into the black hole. Sam, though, thinks that it's worth the risk. And Mitchell agrees, so that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. Then we're back in Atlantis. Dr. Weir is in the control room looking for Zelenka. He tells her that they've detected a Wraith Hive ship on their long-range sensors. So that's bad. It's headed towards the Odyssey, not towards Atlantis, but that's still bad. They want to try to alert them, but they can't get a channel to open because the black hole is blocking their subspace communication. If they can't get that message to them, then they're not going to see the Wraith ship approaching until it is much too late. So that's bad. Maybe the Wraith were drawn by the nuclear blast that they just set off.
Maybe.
Yeah. So Dr. Weir puts in a call to the SGC. Pwalter answers. She tells them about the Wraith ship, and Pwalter asks how they can help. She asks him to get a message to Teal'c to see if Teal'c can send the message out to the Odyssey, since he's been in communication with it. And so that's what they're going to do. Meanwhile, Weir's going to go and check in with Daniel and see what's going on with them out in the hologram room.
Yeah. Do you think Pwalter and Chuck Nishin have a little side chat where they talk about how they're the most important people in both installations?
I bet they do. I hope they do, because they are.
Too, yeah. Because we get to see both of them in this one.
We do.
Yeah.
We don't get to hear any conversations between them, though,
No.
but that would have been entertaining if we did.
It would be, although they might not have a lot of time for side conversations.
Yeah, this is true. They're both so busy because they are both so important.
And also everyone would hear their conversations if they're having them across galaxies.
Also, yeah, this is true because they are both in the control room and talking on open lines that are on speakers.
But maybe when they get a break.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we are back in the hollow room where Daniel and Vala are standing in the empty room while Daniel shouts, I know you're still here. Come out of hiding. Vala says she doesn't think she's coming back. But Daniel's like, yes, she is. She's going to finish what she started. You're not fooling anybody. And then Weir comes in and is like, what is going on here? This is weird. Why are they shouting into an empty room? I thought it was weird too, this logic. Like, she imparted what she needed to, and there was no reason for her to come back.
No, I thought it was weird as well. Yeah. I mean, granted, it turned out to be true, but it was weird logic that she had to still be around.
She did not need to stay. I think she probably should have gone. So
she should have. She didn't, but she should have.
Yes. Weir asks Daniel who he was talking to, and Daniel says, well, I don't know what she calls herself now, but that was Morgan Le Fay, posing as a hologram. And Weir's like skeptical of this, so she gets on the podium, and then Holo Fay, I don't know.
Yes.
Holo Fay appears again, pretending to be full hologram, saying, you may enter your query verbally, blah, blah, blah. Daniel tells her to drop the teacher act. And Weir is like, this is what this is, Daniel. This is a computer-generated image of a Lantian woman who was here. Nothing's different about it. I've used this program before. So she asks the Holo Fay what her image was based on and what her purpose was. And she says she was created by Ganos Lal in her image for the purpose of assisting younger minds. And Weir's like, see, Daniel, you're crazy. And he is like, I am not crazy. Weir asks what makes them think she's anything but a hologram, and Vala's like, well, she told us exactly what we needed to know. Daniel then asks if they can play back events from earlier in the session, which conveniently, it is recorded. So they are able to play back where Holo Fay turns to Daniel and tells him she has her answers and suggests he acts on it. Vala's like, see? She looked right at him. It's creepy. But that's not enough evidence for Weir. So Daniel's like, you said this place uses a lot of power, right? So can we check how much power we're using? So Weir radios to Chucknician, who responds that they've used none power. Just the lights that are on. So Vala,
This didn't make any sense to me. If the thing usually draws power and is recording what it's doing, how was it recording if it wasn't actually drawing any power to create the hologram? How was it recording her?
Maybe she created that to make it look like a recording because she's an ancient and can do what she wants. I don't know. There's no real answer for that.
It made no sense to me that it would be recording her if the hologram wasn't actually running.
Yeah, no. I mean, yeah. It makes no sense.
It does not.
So Vala's like, we got you. Weir finally comes around. And then Holo Fay is like, okay, jig is up. Sorry.
And then we are out with Teal'c. Mitchell calls out to him to let him know that they're going to give this another try and that they're going to be firing 2 nuclear weapons this time. So make sure you're maintaining a good, safe distance. Just in case they vaporize both of the gates. And this goes poorly. Rodney says it's maybe just a 5% chance, maybe 7% chance that'll happen. Teal'c will be fine. Everything's fine. So we're on the Odyssey. They're getting ready to set this off. We get some views of what's going on out in space. We get views of Teal'c and his Alkesh. But then nothing happens again. Teal'c tells them that the second attempt was also unsuccessful, but there was energy that passed between the Stargate and the Supergate this time at least, so they got a little bit more this time than last time, but still not as much as they needed. They've still got 2 more bombs left, though, so they're going to try to increase the yield to maximum and try it again, even though Sam reminds him that he was the one that said maximum yield would vaporize both gates. But as Rodney says, they've only got 1 more shot at this, so what difference is it going to make? Emerson points out that each bomb that they set off is forcing the gate closer to the event horizon, so they're not going to be able to keep safe beaming distance. Not only that, but also they're losing some of their sensors, and so they basically have to fly, not completely blind, as Mitchell asks, but kind of close to it. So all of that is bad. And then Teal'c gets on the radio and says that his sensors are indicating that an Ori vessel is approaching his coordinates. So that's bad. They're going to be there in just a few minutes. McKay says that that is not anywhere near enough time for them to try again. It's going to take time to set and calibrate the bombs and the detonators, so Teal'c needs to get out of there. Although Mitchell says that he can't because they can't just leave their little mini gate sitting out there in space. So what are they going to do?
Who knows?
We don't know yet because
Yeah.
we're going to be back in the hollow room next.
Yeah. I was starting to get annoyed at this point. I'm like, if all of this fails after this, I'm going to be really pissed off.
Same.
Because we've had enough of failure, I feel like, with the Ori.
Yes.
In the hollow room, Weir's happy to see an ascended ancient, which Hollow Faye confirms she is. I suppose she's not acting hologram anymore, so we can call her Morgan
Yes.
or LeFay. Yeah. Daniel says he thought he recognized her from descriptions in the archive on Veganbright. And how, like, specific were those descriptions?
Right? Yeah, that's weird.
It was more than just lady with brown hair. Like,
Right. Lady yay tall with brown hair. Yeah.
I don't know. Has an accent that we wouldn't call an accent.
Right.
Anyway, Vala is pretty excited. She's like, okay, cool. Well, now that you're here, maybe give us a little bit more than dribs and drabs of information that you've been giving us. We know that you can give us more than that. But Morgan Le Fay is like, no, it's against our highest laws to interfere. But Vala's like, you're doing that right now.
The truth is, all knowledge, everything that is and was and will be, is everywhere.
Just a little bit. And that's okay. Weir tells her to be less confrontational. But again, even though she's annoying, I'm a little bit on Vala's side on this.
Yeah.
Vala's like, she's already here interfering. Daniel wants to know if her intention is to help them, because she was, according to legend, Merlin's greatest rival. Then he turns to Weir and tells her that Merlin is both Moros and Muradin, which again, I don't think he needed to do that. Le Fay says, yes, I was his rival for a while, but thousands of years have passed and things change. She explains what happened to the folks who came back to Earth after leaving Atlantis, how they all spread out and did different things, but she and Merlin chose to live their lives in seclusion and meditation. They ascended until they realized that the Ori would be a threat, so Merlin then, of course, which we already know, became human again to work on a weapon to stop them. She says she was sent to observe and stop him if necessary. But Vala's like, well, technically he was human, so weren't you interfering again? I caught you again! And she's like, well, actually, since Merlin knew all of the ancient knowledge, technically he was the one interfering, so it was fine.
The best kind of correct.
They have some fun twisting logic, but whatever. Daniel's like, okay, so after trying to stop Merlin, spying on him, you suddenly agree? And she's doesn't say anything, but obviously she does because she's there. Like, I think that was pretty clear, but
yeah,
we don't get to know that because we're back in the Odyssey.
Indeed. Mitchell asks Teal'c if the Ori ship knows he's there. He isn't sure, but Sam says that they have to risk it. She tells Teal'c to get into position next to the Stargate and then try to extend his cloak around both his Alkesh and the Stargate, the active Stargate, and hope that that is good enough. So he does that. Meanwhile, on the Odyssey, Rodney says, you know, it could be there to rendezvous with a whole new fleet of ships, right? That would be bad. Mitchell's like, why don't you just go calibrate your bombs or something? Make yourself useful. He doesn't want to think about what is going to happen if there's a bunch of Ori ships coming through right now. Sam warns Teal'c, though, that the cloaking might not be able to work as long because it's expanded, so shut down all non-mission critical systems and maintain radio silence. So Teal'c, of course, goes ahead and does that. And maybe the Ori ship is just checking things out and will go away soon. Let's hope for that. Then we're back in the hollow room. Morgan Le Fay says she has no reason to deceive her. They basically just keep going back and forth, Morgan Le Fay and Vala and Weir, about trying to convince Morgan Le Fay to give them more information, and she's not trying to mislead them or anything, but she could get in trouble for giving them more information. Daniel is kind of being the one that's being more understanding. He knows that they're limited in how much information how much information they can share and how much they can interfere, but they need more. Pass on to your friends that we need more. Like, we're at a huge risk because of the Ori, and you know how dangerous the Ori is. You need to help us. But she says that if they interfere, they're no better than the Ori. Daniel, though, says that it comes down to survival, though. So if you help us, really you're helping yourselves, because the Ori are going to ultimately destroy everyone and everything. Not just us, but also you.
Yeah. Out in space by the Supergate, the Ori ship continues to hang around. Teal'c is watching when he gets the message from Stargate Command from Atlantis that there's a Wraith ship headed towards the Odyssey. On the Odyssey, Rodney reports the bombs are ready to go. And then we also see that a Wraith ship is headed right for the black hole. It has arrived in their position. Then we're back in the Hollow Room. Apparently Morgan Le Fay spent enough time with Daniel in his ascended time that she knows he speaks from the heart. He realizes in her saying this about Daniel that she is most afraid of doing the right thing and being punished for it, which, yes?
Yeah.
Isn't that all what they're afraid of?
Right.
She says she's already gone too far, so Daniel's like, maybe just a little bit further? The others around you must have also seen that the Ori's actions have changed things. We gotta join this fight, right? But no answer. No answer.
So despite the fact that Teal'c was supposed to be maintaining radio silence, he obviously has to use his radio for this. He calls to the Odyssey and warns them about the Wraith ship on its way. So they're not too thrilled to hear about that one. Sam says that they can't find one on their sensors, but they can't trust their sensors this close to a black hole, Emerson tells her.
And what did your sense ores show?
So they're going to put their shields on maximum, but they're only actually operating at 20% once they put them on because of the black hole messing with all their systems. So they're going to need to get further away from it, which means that they're not going to be able to actually beam the bombs to the gate to finish their plan. So they're going to try to get out of there. Except that then the Odyssey is being fired upon. So that's bad. And so there is something out there. They just can't see it. Their hyperdrive is down, and they can't really return fire either. They debate what to do. They talk about trying to get away from the black hole full speed, but because they are in pretty close and all of their systems are weakened and physics reasons, they decide that that's actually not going to really help them, especially because the ship that's firing on them is actually farther away than they are. So they think that the best thing to do actually might be to go towards the black hole full speed. They can maybe slingshot out of it. Meanwhile, they would be pulling the Wraith ship in closer so that the Wraith ship would then be more affected, and ultimately they would end up further away from the black hole while the Wraith ship would then be closer to the black hole, and then they'd have the upper hand. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to head towards the black hole full speed and hope to try to slingshot out of it on the other side.
Yep. Yeah. Speed it up and jump those tracks.
Yeah. I guess they're not heading into the black hole full speed, but they're heading into the accretion disk and hoping to slingshot out around it on the other side.
In the Hollow Room, Daniel continues to try to convince Morgan Le Fay to give them more. He's basically giving a speech on how the Ascended Ancients need to be helping with this, and others must be willing to follow your example. She says, though, there are not enough of them to do that. She continues to try to tell them they have enough to find the weapon, but they are insistent. All three of them are basically begging her to give anything, and she finally relents and starts to tell him something, although not which planet to go to. She says Merlin's weapon is not, before she is whisked away by the other ascended beings, right before she could give them any helpful information. So she really should have just pieced out of there before.
Yeah.
That would have been much better for her.
It would have.
And since it didn't do any good for them,
Yep. So all of that was for nothing.
All for nothing. At least that
everything
part
that
of it.
happened between when she gave them the location of the planets and now was for nothing.
Yep. Daniel says we won't see her again.
Nope.
And he doesn't know if they're going to punish her, but Vala says she understands why Daniel came back now. She wouldn't have liked them either, those ascended beings, which I agree fully.
Back on the Odyssey, their shields are barely holding. They're still looking for the Wraith ship because as it gets further into the accretion disk, its systems should start to fail the way that theirs have been failing. They can't see it yet, but Sam radios to Teal'c to say that they're going to try something that's probably going to vaporize the Stargate on both ends. So maybe just get out of there. Just go ahead and leave the gate. Just don't worry about it. Just get out of there. Activate your hyperdrive. Finally, they are able to see the Wraith ship on their sensors, and they're close enough that they are able to beam the bombs onto the Wraith ship. So they beam their nuclear weapons onto the Wraith ship, and it explodes right next to the active Stargate.
And it exploded.
Meanwhile, Teal'c, out in space, uncloaks, moves away from the Supergate and his little regular Stargate. And that beam of energy from the exploding Wraith ship that was right in front of the regular gate jumps from the Stargate to the Supergate and causes an event horizon to open the Supergate and takes out the Ori ship. Not entirely, just kind of...
It got feet shoes.
Half of it. It got whooshed. It got feet shoes.
Yeah.
So, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Teal'c looks delighted as he's watching this show. Sam tells everybody on the bridge that the Wraith ship has been destroyed, so Emerson orders that they be reduced to sublight engines. They have managed to successfully slingshot out of the accretion disk, so now they're going to work on getting their hyperdrive back online. And also, apparently, their gate survived the detonation intact. So they don't really know how it managed, but they're going to, I guess, try to recover that gate as well before they get out of here. Teal'c calls in to them, and Mitchell says, I thought I told you to get out of there. And Teal'c says, well, I was about to, but then I just thought that I should let you know that the Supergate is activated, and also it took out the Ori ship. So everybody is celebrating all around.
Yeah.
He says he was able to keep the Stargate concealed until the last moment, and when he did become visible, he was able to lure the Ori vessel into the unstable vortex of the Supergate just when that jump of energy occurred. Good timing, Teal'c.
Go Teal'c.
Right?
Yeah.
So he became visible at just the right time and decided to flee in just the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they blew up an Ori ship.
Woo.
By destroying a Wraith ship.
Yes.
Rodney adds.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. And Teal'c says, we achieved a great victory.
Yes. But we can't enjoy it because then we have to be with Daniel Downer next.
Right.
Daniel and Vala are on Atlantis talking about what happened, talking with Morgan Le Fay. Vala still can't believe she would be punished for doing what was right, and maybe she'll just get a slap on the wrist. And remember, Daniel, cheer up. You got your answer, so we have these addresses, so maybe smile? And Daniel's like, well, it just means that we know that the ascended beings are not going to help us, so we're all alone. Daniel Downer out. End of episode.
End of episode. Did you like the episode?
I did like the episode. As we mentioned earlier, we like crossovers. They're fun.
Yes.
It was fun to see SG1 be annoyed with Rodney. I did enjoy it quite a lot. I thought it was very funny, and finally it was way more like positive and uplifting than Stargate SG1 has been in quite a while.
Yes.
They finally accomplished something against the Ori. Like, they have the Supergate open now permanently, so they can't send more ships. They bonus blew up a ship. Woo!
Woo!
Blew up a Wraith ship, too. That was good. And they have some information still towards Merlin's weapon. I wonder how many episodes they're going to use to drag this out, but...
I feel like the whole season, probably.
Yeah, but, step by step getting closer, and at least something else good happened in the meantime.
Yes.
The Ancients continue to be annoying in their ascended form, but we already knew that. But yeah, I overall really enjoyed it. I overlooked the weird logic of why they needed to be in the Pegasus in the first place to make this gate thing happen, and ignoring that Morgan Le Fay should have just fucking left and not been punished. But otherwise, I enjoyed it. How about you?
Yeah, same. I like crossover episodes, and I did think that this was entertaining, and there were lots of explosions, which I always appreciate.
Yeah.
I especially liked the end part where a Wraith ship exploded, and that caused the Ori ship to explode. I thought that was pretty great.
Yeah.
And I loved how happy Teal'c was at the end, too, when he was sharing the good news of the Supergate actually being activated and also taking out the Ori ship at the same time. I thought that was great. I liked how happy he was. So yeah, I enjoyed the episode overall, despite the fact that I had a little trouble following what exactly their convoluted plan was.
Yeah.
There in the middle.
The details didn't matter super a lot, so.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, decent episode. I feel like it was, as you said, pretty much the best SG1 episode we've gotten in quite a while.
Yeah. Are we going to get a good Atlantis episode next?
I think you told me that you already watched it and that you didn't like it, so I guess not.
I don't know if I disliked it, but I don't know. I might watch it again because it's been now like a week, so.
Fair.
But also I remembered some of it because it has Richard Kind in it.
Yeah, I think I remember a little bit of it, but probably not too much. It is Stargate Atlantis, Season 3, Episode 3, Irresistible. According to TVDB, Sheppard's team meets an obnoxious man who is adored by all thanks to a secret that he carries, and who has an unexpected effect on them. Meanwhile, over at IMDb, this is the last of the super crazy long descriptions that we get before it goes back to its normal, 1 or 2 sentences. Sheppard and the team continue their visits to new planets. McKay is tired of all these visits and is keen on implementing a series of gates that will allow them to travel from Atlantis to Earth in a mere 30 minutes without using the power of a ZPM or the 2 weeks it takes them on the Daedalus. He takes a somewhat different tack, however, when he sees all of the very friendly young women in the village. Their leader, Lucius Lavin, seems to be a very affable sort and has the locals eating out of his hands. He claims to be an apothecary of sorts and have a cure for every disease, which is certainly of interest to Dr. Beckett. Lavin is invited to Atlantis, and soon everyone, including Elizabeth Weir and McKay, have fallen victim to his charms. It's left to Sheppard to sort it all out. I do think I remember at least parts of this episode.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't have a lot to say until we talk about it, so.
Fair.
Yeah.
I have mixed feelings about Richard Kind. Sometimes I like him, other times he can just be very annoying.
Fair, but I feel like that he's good at that, so.
Right, which is why he can be very annoying, because it's what he does.
Yeah. And different role from when he was in the movie.
Yes,
different,
indeed. Quite different.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
Thank you so much for listening to Stargatesing with Kathy and Mary. Our fully listener-supported program couldn't be done without you. Show your support by telling everyone you know how awesome this show is. Find us at stargatesing.space. Reach us by email, stargatesing@gmail.com. Find us on social media at Blue Sky. Get some merch, tinyurl/stargatesing. And finally, show your financial support at patreon.com/stargatesing. Thank you for traveling through the gate with us. Catch you next time on Stargatesing with Kathy and Mary.
All right. I'm Mary.
I'm Kathy.
And you've been listening to Stargatesing. The end.
The end. The logic is weird in this episode.
Yeah. But it was, and that's why I had a little trouble following it. So sorry if I take a while to figure this out, because I was having a little trouble figuring out the story with Teal'c out there in the